Hello all, welcome to the Knife Edge UK YouTube channel. Hopefully you're already subscribed, but if not, please hit that subscribe button, it's really helpful. So what are we looking at today? Well, we're going to look at kind of a sort of unsung hero, but to people in the know, it won't be an unsung hero at all. I'm going to try and make that into a proper sentence. No, I'm not. Let's move on. Okay, right. This is the Three Rivers Nomad. It's an American-made knife. It's designed around legality, and I believe they actually refer to it as the LTC, the legal to carry Nomad, and it's been well designed with that in mind. So before we get into the particulars of the knife itself, let's have a look at it next to a few size comparisons. So let's put it next to a traditional or two, so that I was, constrained by non-locking short blade legalities, get an idea. That's a Northwoods Little Bay by GEC on the 25 frame. We'll stick it next to the sort of modern / traditional hybrid line steel CK01 there. We'll pop that out of the way and put it next to a UK PK. As you can see, this is a much smaller blade than a UK PK, and then we'll pull that out of the way and put it next to an Urban. And as you can see, it's actually a slightly smaller blade than an Urban, and knives and knives and knives, and we'll put it next to the Squeak as well. So you can see it's actually kind of a halfway house between a Squeak and an Urban, which is quite interesting, but there are some differences. So let's put those guys away and quickly take a look at the Nomad. So, as I said, the idea of the Nomad, it does have legality at its core. So this is a non-locking design, and it's actually extremely similar to the back spring design. Unfortunately, it's hidden underneath this scale, but if you do a quick look around online, you'll quickly find it. Incidentally, this scale is Jade G10 or transparent or natural G10. As you can see, you have the Nomad back spring, which is in there, and it looks underneath the scale strikingly similar to something like this. That is a Pitts Mark III by Mike Reed, and you'll notice that the back spring is, as you'd imagine, the Pitts from Spyderco, their take on the Mark III. You can also find that looks very, very similar to what you find under here. So effectively, this is running on bronze washers. The blade itself is CPM 154, which is very good steel. There's nothing wrong with CPM 154. It's effectively the carbon metallurgy version of 154 CM. Good composition, nice steel. Lags a little bit behind the very, very top end steels now, but it's still more than serviceable for most tasks. This one is wearing a convex ground mirror edge, and we'll come back to that shortly. This one came to me quite heavily used, and so it's been worked on a bit. Titanium liners that are jimped all the way along the back spring. Not really for grip, I don't think, so much as just as a point of interest. It's quite nice. There's a nice stonewash on the blade itself. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, nice blade, nice stonewash on the blade. And then we have, as I say, stonewashed titanium liners as well, all running on on phosphor bronze washers. And then we've got this interesting wrap over pocket clip, which is quite nicely done, but we will come back to it. It's obviously incredibly deep carry, and yeah, it has its pros and cons. So in terms of the ergonomics of this knife, when you hold it, it's got a forward finger choil, which obviously makes it extremely safe for a non-locking blade. There's no way in the world that you're ever going to close that on yourself. And just because of the way it's actually made, if you did decide to hold further back and close the blade, again, it's still not going to interact in a way that's going to end up with that edge on your finger. Has a little opening hole in it, which for me personally works perfectly well. Some people might find that a little bit difficult, but I found that once I cleaned and tuned this, I had no problem with it. I polished the washers incidentally. Centering on it is good. And when I took it apart, it's a bit of a finicky so-and-so to get back together, but it's no big problem. As you can see, the blade is quite stout, interacts with a pair of, well, with a single external stop pin there. You can see it wraps around over the stop pin. The blade is quite stout, certainly more stout than I tend to prefer. If I go to something like a current Spyderco UK PK, you can see we're dealing with substantially thicker blade stock there. And that comes to the first sort of downside of this little knife, which for me has been an upside, which is that I carry a lot of traditional knives now, and they're great little slicers. Thin blades, very, very thin behind the edge, you know, fantastic to slice with. And I did carry my little squeak as sort of a very, very approachable kind of knife, but since having some really, really nice scales done for that by Paul Watson over at Rotorblade, I don't really feel like using that as the beater I used to. So this has become my beater, and indeed it has actually served admirably, and now that I've put this convex grind on it, it is working for me quite well. It's a flat grind in general, and it's a relatively high flat grind. It is a saber grind though. I think it would be great if they could full flat grind. What is up with me today? Full flat grind this blade. I think that would be really nice. And I also think that making this sort of nub slightly more attractive shape, just sort of sweeping it back into that might be nice. I might actually do that to this one. I think that would be nice. And my main concern with the blade, though, isn't the way it's ground or the stonewash. It's how thick it was behind the edge. It was really, really, really quite thick behind the edge, this knife. And so I've put this kind of wide mirror convex grind on it, so that it goes like appleseed grind, so it goes right down smoothly from the edge into the tip. And this does actually slice relatively well now. You know, doing many EDC tasks, you know, opening envelopes or breaking down boxes or cutting tape on packages or, you know, anything like that, this does perform quite well. The tip's quite nice and usable. It's not the most acute thing in the world. It's no, you know, splinter digger, but it does work relatively well. And when it's got a nice shaving sharp edge on it like this, albeit I don't think it's the most attractive edge in the world at that thickness, but it does do the job. Yeah, it does work quite well as an everyday carry knife, you know, for doing those things. That said, if you're trying to cut an apple or something with this, it will be a bit like cleaving your apple open. But overall, I do like it and I carry it a lot. My biggest problem with this design is this pocket clip. And normally I love a deep carry pocket clip. Probably my favourite pocket clip in the world is on the Mike Reed Pitts Mark III. As you can see, that actually is sort of in the pocket carry from your pocket clip. That's fantastic for me. I love that. Nice and discreet. Very, very low in the pocket, works well. So you would think I would like this a lot. Unfortunately, what I have happen with this is the ramp's really good. It's got nice spring to it. It works really, really, really well as a functional pocket clip from those points of view. But I just find that material from my jeans, even quite thick fabric, ends up here, and because of this filler piece that they put in, it's actually quite sharp, that little filler. It fills the groove that would be there in case you want to swap which side you have the pocket clip on, and it just ends up being quite sharp, and it catches in jeans, and that's a real issue. And if you try and bend this so much that you end up with it on there, you end up with the fact that it's actually kind of cleaved over slightly. Now, I might put this in a vise and get it to be perfect, but I would warn you that because of the way that you put this together and the fact that this is applying pressure on this side as you try and put this knife back together, if you take it apart, it's you don't have to take it apart to get the pocket clip out, I don't believe. No, you do. You can take the scales off, but you can't take the pocket clip out. It just doesn't really work that well for me. Now, I tend to carry it sort of round the front of my pocket and I have less of a problem that way, but it does cause issues and it's not the best clip in the history of the world. That said, this is probably, while being, you know, relatively thick, this probably is still, you know, an okay idea as an in-the-pocket carry, so maybe you could remove the pocket clip completely and ask Three Rivers to ship you an extra filler in there. But yeah, so apart from that, what else is there to say? Well, you can get various different scales for this. They do a carbon fibre version, and you can get a whole range of G10 colours. I've stuck with these jade ones because I really like them, but I do have a set of red and a set of yellow, so if you have one of these and you want some extra sets in either of those colours, give me a shout. But yeah, I think that's a really nice sort of little feature of this, and if you had some custom scales made in some sort of really nice materials, had some beautiful micarta or even something exotic done, I think it would be quite fun just to, you know, sort of chop and changes as this mood took you. So basically, I carry this a lot and I really, really like it, but I do have my downsides for it, and I think I've detailed them all here. So there you go, guys. That is the Nomad from Three Rivers. Oh, one last thing. This is lovely. Lovely detent, so you can just... It would happen, wouldn't it? And again. Let's try this once more. Once more. If it doesn't work, I'm gone. It didn't work. I'm gone. Bye, guys. Catch you in the next video. Bye.